Hey, gentlemen, how we doing? Good to see y'all. Ready? That time, isn't it? Get ready to kick things off. And, well, you know as soon as it gets hot, it's ready to kick things off. I mean, the heat, well, we're coming in Texas. But look forward to it. Guys had an exciting summer, good off season. And hopefully guys got some break and some of our coaches get them buttons and get their batteries recharged and relax a little bit and get ready to get going. It won't be long. We'll be kicking off and getting practice. I can't wait to do it. Very excited. Question?
Jimbo, y'all had been doing really well in your first 3 years here and really climbing and progressing. How did it get off track as you sit back and kind of evaluate the last year?
We just didn't execute at critical moments of games. We had injuries, but that's coaching too. You got to coach around it. You got to coach for depth. You got to coach situations and be able to make critical plays at critical times. I mean, there's no excuses. You just didn't get it done. Now you got to go back and get it done. And there's no magical formula except go back, work hard, be fundamentally sound. We have talented guys. And the thing that's got me excited, we got a lot of depth now. Some of our ramifications of guys that we lost early in the season last year and didn't play. We know Bryce Foster, some of those guys. You had a lot of guys take a lot of snaps at different positions now that are coming back. Feel comfortable. Plus, you get the older guys back. And the other thing is creates a lot of depth and a lot of competition in practice. I mean, you know, you stay hungry, you do things, and you fight for the execution. You fight for the inches every day and how you execute, and the mental attitude of, you know, having the confidence in yourself to be able to do it. And now a lot of guys sometimes have been in games and not made a play or not done something, or we got to coach them a different way or whatever it may be. It's not a blame on anybody, but it's coaching at the end of the day, and you got to make plays. But now you know how to do it. And I think for the experience and the leadership of our group, I think it'll really benefit us this year.
There's a new NIL law in Texas that lets the schools be a little bit more involved with the process of kind of, bringing people together. Has that changed at all, and how y'all address NIL?
But it's still like the laws of incentives and all those things we've never done, and we still can't do. And those, we hired a guy from, if I'm not mistaken, from Ohio State who already had that law. That's why you hire a guy who has experience in doing those things. These aren't new things that are going on in college football. They've been going on in other places in the country. And the thing about it is before, like people talk about third parties taking advantage of kids and things of that nature, you know, you'd get into, they'd have a contract. They couldn't show us a contract of who they were doing NIL. We had no knowledge of who they did NIL deals with. They had to go through compliance, but that's not us. And guys that can at least have looked at a contract and say, hey, you just gave away 50% of your rights for the rest of your life. Was that a good thing? You know what I mean? I mean, from a monitoring standpoint, I think it is. And from a consistency standpoint, anytime you can get consistency and monitoring of it, I think it's a good thing.
Jim, how comfortable are you at quarterback, and how close is that competition between?
I think it's very close, which has got me excited. But at the same thing, I feel very comfortable with our guys. They've won games. They feel comfortable in games. They've played in big moments, and like the competition going in. Really do.
How has Bobby Petrino fit so far? And I mean, how's
been wonderful.
The offense just progressing?
We feel very comfortable with what we're doing, how we're doing it. I mean, we're not going to get into schemes and schematics. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what we're going to do. But at the same time, people don't realize he and I were friends a long time ago. We've had a great admiration for each other and what we've done and how we've done things. And he studied us, we studied him, things that go back and forth over years. And he's a proven guy who's proven a lot of things as a quarterback coach, as a play caller, as an offensive guy, and very pleased and had great continuity with our staff. The meetings and the staff member have been tremendous, and he's been a very good recruiter. Recruited very well.
How hard is it losing Coach Price, like an active coach on the staff?
You know, I wanted to address that in the beginning of it. Listen, there's not a better person. You know, we lost a great Aggie, but the world lost a great person. I mean, it goes beyond Texas A&M. Terry Price, everybody he ever came in contact, I've never heard a bad word about Terry Price. As a coach, as a person, as a father, as a husband, I mean, everything he did was first class, and he was one of the most unassuming guys. And I even heard, didn't you hear RC and them who coached him, and Jackie say the same things about him. As a player, whatever was required of him, he was a team guy, but he was a great player, and he was the same way on our staff. Whatever needed done, whatever had to be done, he did at the highest levels, and would take small roles, big roles, whatever you could, and you knew when you give Terry something to do, it was going to be done and done right. And our players loved him, everybody loved him, and he's going to be sorely, sorely missed. I mean, it hurt us, man. It took one of our family and a guy that I think is as good a human being. He's a better person as ever. He's what I call real people. I mean, when he told you something, you could count on it. And he was a real guy who did the real things, and he could communicate with you, whether you were from the Northeast, you're from the West, you're from the South, you're black, you're white, you're Catholic, you're Baptist. I mean, whatever. What Terry took you for who you were, and he was a real person and a real guy, and it's a big loss. It really is.
How much does the addition of Jim Chaney help that offensive room as well as an analyst.
Jim been around a long time, known Jim many years too. Went against him, coached against him, things like that. Anytime you have ideas and the information you get off of film and video, you can, when you've got a guy who has proven that what you say and what he gives you the information after breaking down a film or looking at a film, the trust you have in that because of where he's been and what he's done, it saves the amount of time it saves. The amount of time, the valuable information, not just ideas, but verifying information. Because you can understand something, as a coach, as a college football coach, you're on a very quick timeline from Sunday to Monday to get everything ready to go by Tuesday and how you're putting a game plan in. And you got to validate information. And what you hate sometimes, you get young guys doing it, which is great, and all of a sudden you see on Tuesday, Wednesday, wait, that's not exactly quite every time, like we said, there's a little quirk in there. You know, and just things like that, having that experience makes a huge difference on your decision making early in the week, which allows more reps and more things in your bag. But Jim is a great football mind and a great staff member.
In general, Jimbo, what do you need to do offensively to be more consistent, just in general?
We got to win up front. We got to be able to run the football. We got to protect the quarterback. That's number one. We got to give him space to throw the football. He has to have space. He has to have room. You can't be contested all your throws with people in your face doing things. You got to be able to do those things. You got to win the line of scrimmage. And I think the injuries and the consistency, like I said, we played a lot of guys up front, but we got a lot of guys coming back now that have played. And we think we have a very good group. I do. I think we have a really good group up front.
How much did you
I
miss
think-
Bryce?
Hold on. Let me, we got, just doing those things. I think we got to play more consistent in the route running and how you run routes, where you got to get to, the discipline, the things you have to do, and just execute. It goes down to execution. And it's not, you don't practice it till you do it right. You practice it till you can't do it wrong. And there is a difference. There's a lot of guys can do it and you can do it sometime, but do you do it every time? That's the key. And I think that's where experience, know-how, and the ability to create habits and practice, and your practice habits create that. And that also is created by competition, that if you're not doing it right, there's a guy right there that can take your job as quick as you turn around. And I think that's one of the things we have, because we got almost our whole 2 deep back in everything we did. Everybody was, the transfer portal thing, we never lost much production, we never lost much depth in our 2 deep, which is going to create great habits, which I think will enhance our offense.
Do you benefit from being under the radar nationally?
You're never under the radar. You're in the SEC. You're always under the radar. And then, what you do and how you do it. And I whether I'm under the radar or in the radar, we don't ever approach it. As a coach, you don't approach it any differently. You have pressure, you deal with pressure, you deal with the expectations, you deal with what you got to do, and you don't focus on those things. Those are outcomes. You have to focus on what you do on a daily basis to get your team ready to play and play consistently in a great league.